Good morning. We appreciate you all being here. My name is Steve Blaine. I'm the CEO for WeGo Public Transit, and we are super excited and pleased to be celebrating, along with dozens of other public transportation agencies around the country, Transit Equity Day. And some of our guest speakers are going to tell you a little bit more about what Transit Equity Day means generally in the history of our country, and we're also going to fill you in on some of the initiatives that we have to make our system and our city a more fair and equitable place. So without further ado, I want to call our first speaker to the dais, certainly a champion of public transportation and a champion of equity in Nashville, Metro Council Member at Large, Sharon Hurt. Sharon?
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome and thank you all for being here. I am Sharon Hurt and I am grateful to serve as Council Member at Large for Metro Nashville. I am delighted to join Mayor John Cooper and the WeGo Public Transit team here at Music City Central to commemorate Transit Equity Day. It is important that we recognize February and this fourth day of the month as more than a national observance. This day represents a charge to all of us to make good on the promise to ensure that transit is available, accessible, affordable, and ecologically sustainable for everyone. Today is a reminder that transit is a civil right. As you all probably know, in December of 1955 in Montgomery, Alabama, Rosa Parks, whose birthday inspired the date for this annual commemoration, knew that transit was a civil right, so famously took a seat on a public bus, refused to yield that seat to a white man, and was arrested and fined, thus setting the stage for the year-long boycott that forced the integration of Montgomery's bus system. In 1974, right here in Nashville, Elizabeth Duff, who we all will honor today, knew that transit was a civil right. After growing up under segregation and being required to sit in the back of the bus, she challenged race and gender norms by becoming the city's first female bus driver. I think that deserves a hand of applause. I am proud of the fact that Nashville is a city that embraces and advances the cause of good transit for all. And if you need proof of that commitment, just turn your gaze north. If you know Nashville history, then you know that the biggest blow to the Jefferson Street community came in the 1960s when I-40 was routed straight through the neighborhood, destroying homes, businesses, seizing over 1,400 homes, in fact, and causing incalculable economic harm to the area. Although the interstate divided the community then, today we work very, very hard to take steps forward to restore that community. These efforts include initiatives in community economic development, housing, and of course, multimodal transportation, projects like the forthcoming North Nashville Transit Center. By increasing and improving North Nashville's access and connections across the city, this neighborhood mobility center will also promote economic growth, job creation, and equitable access to transit. While much must still be done to fully restore the economic and community viability of North Nashville, the Transit City Center is evidence of progress in the right direction. High-quality public transportation is about much more than getting from point A to point B. Transit is independence, economic empowerment, sustainability, opportunity, freedom, safety, and access. It is up to us to continue the work required to make this civil right available to all of our citizens. It gives me great pleasure to introduce our mayor, John Cooper.
Thank you for those words, our council lady at large, our great partner in the city being a better city. And I also want to acknowledge Representative Love, who has been an exceptional representative for our city, and just to acknowledge the great achievement in this last week that he was able to provide to bring increased education funding for our city. Now, maybe I can do this without that. To celebrate Transit Equity Day, it's a national day, and we're celebrating here in Nashville, standing on MLK Boulevard, but now we're also a mile from Rosa Parks Boulevard. We're less than a mile from John Lewis Way. We're about 2 miles from Bianca Page Way. But I want to just spend a moment, we're within a short drive of a road named last year in honor of Mrs. Mary Louise Watson. And now she joins Rosa Parks and John Lewis, our American saint who claimed Nashville so proudly. And we also know Mark Middleton, who performed as Bianca Page, as a trailblazer for Nashville's LGBTQ community. But Mrs. Watson's story is maybe a little bit less familiar, but we need to celebrate it also here in Black History Month in February. She was a civil rights leader who walked her daughter, Barbara, to school every day to integrate Jones Elementary School. 9 blocks every day from 12th Avenue to Jones Elementary at 9th and Buchanan. And I am glad that we are able to celebrate her also, not just today, but every day, with a street named in her honor. But we also want to celebrate the late Elizabeth Duff. Nashville's, the council lady was saying, first female African-American driver. She operated a city bus for 33 years, from 1974 to 2007, and her husband and family are here. If they would just give us all a wave so that we can thank them for her service. And thank you to the Duff family. Now, Transit Equity Day is a reason to talk about how Nashvillians must be able to get around from point A to B easily, safely, to earn a living, to provide for their families, to get to school and feel connected to their communities. And I want to thank Chair Gail Williams and Steve Bland and the team at WeGo. They are key partners in getting that work done. Now, I'm proud that the city's latest capital spending plan includes nearly $27 million for WeGo in capital to replace and upgrade buses, to modernize bus stops and shelters, and to plan for bus rapid transit on major corridors like Murfreesboro Pike and Clarksville Pike. Capital spending, nearly $27 million. The budget also includes $2 million for our neighborhoods, for sidewalks and bikeways repairs, but really for pedestrian safety. You have to look at Nashville and give us a very poor grade on pedestrian safety. We need to make investments, and we need to get on it and focus on the intersections that literally sometimes are killing our citizens. And we need to look at them one at a one and upgrade them and have a strategy. Have a transportation plan. That is central to getting this work done. Now, when I ran for mayor, I promised Nashville would have an adopted transportation plan within my first year of being in office. And creating that plan was a deeply affirming journey. Nearly 3,000 people and organizations came together to share their ideas. I think Steve worked with every single one of them, even during the global pandemic. And so for Nashville, we should celebrate that you can't keep good ideas down, and we passed Nashville's first $1.6 billion transportation plan. We created NDOT, and we're creating professional response to our transportation needs. Now, that plan has been important because it has already unlocked an additional $44 million in state and federal funding. $44 million so far in just the period of time that we've adopted, including now full funding for the new Traffic Management Center. Now, all the council has been very important in doing this. We're in Freddie O'Connell, Council District 19's district here. I'm sorry he is not here with us. He also, with Sharon, and partnering with a great council, because we're going to be a city that works and works for everybody. Now, with that, I just want to make a brief introduction to Representative Love. We'll hear from him in a moment. If you've spent any time with Representative Love, you know his story. You've heard it about how Interstate 40 devastated his community and also his parents' home. And we're grateful for him and his work. And again, if I can, I just want to say sometimes people go into public life. I think Sharon will agree with me. It's hard. You do the best you can for the people you serve. You work hard for years on a project that you don't know necessarily you can get accomplished, but then every now and then a public servant comes back with such an amazing win for his community that frankly we just all need to stand up and thank him for his hard work in getting hundreds of millions of dollars of additional funding for our community here in Nashville. Thank you very much, Representative.
To Mayor Cooper, Councilor Hurt, to the Duff family, Ms. Williams, and members of WeGo, let me, before I start, I always give credit where credit is due for the work that I'm able to accomplish. To your point, Mayor, oftentimes public servants go in and don't know if they can finish the work they've started. Anything that I've been able to accomplish for Tennessee State, I have to give credit to Harold Love Sr. He worked diligently on projects that he never knew he might be able to finish. And so as a dutiful son, it just gives me honor to be able to finish work and to be able to lift up my community. So thank you for the recognition. We'll keep pushing to make sure that all of our children have an opportunity to get a good education here, not just in Nashville, but in the state of Tennessee. Which also coincidentally brings us to the subject of transit equity, because it was as a young child that Rosa Parks realized that the bus system was a way of life. She said as a young child, she realized that at that instant, as a young child, waiting for the elementary school bus, that there was a black world and a white world, because some buses went this way, other buses went the other way. And so as we come on this day to celebrate Transit Equity Day, we realize that it's important to make sure that we have, as you said, transportation, as Councilor Hurt has recognized, that we have opportunities in our most marginalized communities to make sure people can get back and forth to work, that they can be able to get back and forth to school. As we talk about issues with education and higher education, to be able to get on a bus and go to any of our colleges in Nashville, to be able to get on a bus and go to any of our institutions of higher learning and then come back home at a reasonable time, that is equity. To be able to do that so you can start then planning your career and then start to grow wealth for your family. So I'm grateful to be here to join everyone to talk about this. Many of you had a chance to ride with us earlier this year. Last year. These months keep rolling by. Last year, as we honored Rosa Parks in partnership with WeGo Transit and Route 22S going into Bordeaux. Advocates of Ms. Parks were critical in the formulation of equitable transit. And so we have these purple roses today. And these roses are being distributed today at the City Central as a reminder of the path Rosa Parks paved. I do want to take a moment also to recognize a trailblazer also in our city that I remembered has done so much great work. And as I came into the Transit Center, was reminded about the waiting room upstairs for Attorney Carlton Petway. And so we also recognize those great trailblazers in our legal profession in the African American community who did great and wonderful things. So I think, Mr. Mayor and Brother Steve, that concludes my remarks per my phone having nothing else on there. All right.
Thank you, Representative Love. You heard Mayor Cooper reference our local district council member here, Freddie O'Connell. Freddie was a long-serving member of the MTA board prior to running for and being successful in being elected to council. Freddie very much wanted to be here today and had planned to be here today, but showing that weather is equitable to all, with metro schools being closed, he has childcare duty at home. But if Freddie were here, this is what he would say. First of all, Freddie spent a number of years trying to advance the transit system in Nashville. He was one of the drivers behind the creation of this facility, getting folks into a dignified and comfortable and safe place to make their transfers. And equity in transit is something that didn't stop with Rosa Parks. It goes on every day. And one of the things we're very excited to be rolling out is our new Quick Ticket program. A lot of folks have talked about Quick Ticket as an easier way to pay, as a contactless way to pay. You can pay off your mobile phone. But here's what it has to do with equity. Historically, we've had discounted passes, like monthly passes, and the more you ride, the less you pay per ride. Historically, those passes were very often out of the reach of some of the poorest folks in our community because you had to lay out a good bit of money up front. About 2 months ago, the MTA board adopted a program that we call fare capping. So anyone who gets the Quick Ticket and puts money onto that account will automatically be bumped to the best fare product available to them. So whether you can put $50 on the account or $2 on the account, the more you ride, the less you'll pay. So we're very anxious to have this in wide circulation in the community for a variety of reasons. And you heard about some of the other things that are going on. Councilmember Hurt talked about the North Nashville Transit Center, which will be out to bid for construction in the next couple months. So you will see dirt flying, certainly this year, Councilmember Hurt. Mayor Cooper talked about the formation of the Nashville DOT, and we've been forming an outstanding partnership with NDOT to recognize that it's not just the experience on our bus, but it's the experience getting to and from the bus that's critically important in our neighborhoods, and we're anxious for that work to continue. None of that would be possible without the leadership of the volunteers who associate themselves with WeGo Public Transit. I want to acknowledge 4 of our board members who were unable to make it today. Our Vice Chair, Janet Miller, Walter Searcy, one of our members, Mary Griffin, one of our newer members, and Jessica Dauphin, our newest member. But we are all blessed to be led by a tremendous chair who has put in more years of service to this organization in this community than most of us will ever have the honor of doing. So it's my great pleasure, with a great amount of respect, that I introduce our board chair, Gail Carr Williams.
Thank you, Steve. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Mr. Mayor, Councilor Hurt. Senator Love, I'm so proud of you. Great job this week. Great job. Everybody's doing a lot of really good work. So I'm excited to be here, and I'm humbled to be the chair of the MTA WeGo board. You know, it's a day like today when we celebrate equity. Is a day that we celebrate people. It's a day that we celebrate humanity, and it's a day to remind us to work harder. Yeah. And so I'm grateful to be able to work harder for the people of Nashville and making certain that we continue to grow an equitable transit system for all. There's so many unsung heroes who play a part in advancing equity at MTA, not to mention so many people around the room, but I do want to talk about somebody a little more specifically, and I want to talk about our bus drivers. You know, my dad was a bus driver in Detroit, so I grew up as a child of transit, and I say that all the time because I want you to know that this is in my soul. And my father worked hard every day, and he was a proud and safe bus driver. And he looked after his passengers, and they looked after him. And he got joy. And we lived a really great life in Detroit as a result of his hard work and his work ethic. So I watch these drivers all the time. And Seneca, so good to see you today here, right? And we honor a bus driver today, because those drivers, they're out here every day And they're making certain that our citizens are getting to and from where they have to be in very safe ways. They're also making certain that they feel good when they get on the bus and that the ride is all that it can be for them. So I honor those unsung heroes. And while they may be unsung, we need to sing them a little bit better all the time, because but for. So to all my bus drivers out there, yay, I'm so proud of y'all. You're equitable in how you treat people, and that means so much. So we've talked a lot about equity and Rosa Parks and all your comments that came before me, so I won't repeat those. But I do want to talk about a hero for me, Elizabeth Duff. You know, she set the bar for the drivers that we talk about today. First female driver in Nashville and first African-American female driver. In a time that was not always so excited to see that. And so today we celebrate her and we honor her, and we honor her family because we know with families it matters. And I had just the grand opportunity to meet her husband today. Mr. Duff, what a pleasure to meet you. And her daughter, it's so great to have you here, Arpie. Thank you for being here. And her son, Seneca, who is a driver with WeGo, right? Wearing all the WeGo. I think my scarf matches your shirt and your hat. So, you know, we try to like be in all this. And also, I understand your grandson is also a driver here at WeGo. So it's a family business, right? We're sort of similar. We got this little family business thing going on with transit. I like it. So, Elizabeth Duff was born and raised here in Nashville, in North Nashville. And so, just a reminder, she dedicated 30 years of her life to public transit. And every time I hear a story about her, I hear about her passion, I hear about her integrity, and I hear about her deep commitment to Nashville and, like my dad, to her passengers, to make certain that they were safe. And also, she also, I understand, held her other drivers accountable, which means what a leader. What an example of leadership. So grateful that she is part of the legacy of MTA and WeGo, and we must always celebrate her legacy, because that indeed is what will continue to provide greater service at MTA WeGo. We stand on her shoulders, and we thank you for sharing her with us. So with that, if I can ask you all to come up here with me. Do you mind, Duff? Mr. Duff? Oh, hello. It's nice to meet you. I didn't meet you earlier. So lovely to meet you. Look, are they like beautiful or what? And I just want to share some things with you, okay? Mm-hmm. So first, I have this plaque for you to go home, and it says, "In loving memory of Elizabeth Duff, Nashville's first female bus operator, 1974, 2007, WeGo Public Transit."
Thank you.
Thank you. Daughter of the And we have a nice box for it too.
Oh,
Okay? That's just something for you to
Got it.
always remember. You good with it?
yeah.
Okay. And just, I get you. And one other thing. Here's some beautiful flowers. And hopefully, all this sunshine in here, I know that's Elizabeth shining on us, right?
Yes.
It is. It is.
She loved flowers.
She did love flowers.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Colorful things.
Colorful things. And these are so colorful. And even the paper. And
This is beautiful.
thank you. What's a,
Thank you so much. Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
thank you. Any of you want to say anything? Any of you want to say anything?
I like to say it.
You what?
Yeah.
Harry Duff.
I'd like to thank Nashville Transit, WeGo. At first was Nashville Transit, and I'd like to thank all those people involved back then that gave my wife a chance. And it's so hard when you think about how things were back then, to have a chance like that to better yourself. And we talked about it just before she was about to go and try that. And she was thinking, well, it may be too hard. And I said, well, I believe you could do it. I have faith in you that you can do it. And I said, well, it may be hard, but you can deal with it. You deal with life every day and raising our kids, so I believe you can do it. And she did it. And I'd just like to thank WeGo and Nashville Transit for giving her that opportunity. And I'd like to thank my mother, because we all are born of a woman. And a lot of men forget where they come from. And I want to thank all the women that's doing what you're doing, what my daughter's doing. Raising a family isn't easy. As any other mothers out there, I know what you're going through. Because I've been there with mine, and I know in my house, I knew my place. And I just like to leave you at that, and I like to thank God for all you mothers and wives that are out here making a living for their families. And I'm truly grateful for MTA and WeGo giving my wife that chance.
Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all for this incredible opportunity to allow me to introduce the Duff family to you all today and provide them with an opportunity to remember dear Elizabeth. Thank you for that opportunity. Steve, I'll turn it back over to you unless you need anything else from me. I can close this out? Equity every day, all the time. Work at it. Be intentional about it. We must. Thank you, Nashville.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information on this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.